thank you everybody for joining. My name is John McBee. We're going to have a panel discussion with the Fathom team, and just kind of formatting. So I'm planning we'll do some introductions, go through a discussion, hopefully just like real interactive, and then at the end I want to save time for questions from the audience if we have any. People in the audience, up in the upper right hand corner of your user interface, you'll see a room chat, and inside that room chat you can post questions. And so we won't do questions live, we're going to save them till the end, but do post them there as we go if you have any. So I'd like to open up with just to take some time, everybody introduce themselves. I guess I'll go first. My name is Sean McBee. I'm a XTC community member. Been working with Mr. Jonathan Murray here and Lance Lilly as well on really focusing on the XTC community, focusing on developers, giving developers the access to the tooling that they need to be successful on our network, talking to projects as they come onto the network and introducing them to the community at large. And that's why I'm here today, to talk to the Fathom team and introduce them to the XTC community. Anton, would you like to go next?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Anton. I am CTO of Fathom project. Also, I'm the director of blockchain engineering at Securrency, the blockchain infrastructure company, which serves as an infrastructure provider for a huge institutional clients, mostly banks in US. So yeah, before Securrency, before Fathom, I've been serving as full stack and blockchain engineer in Metro Labs, working on ZK rollup. Maybe you know it. It's called ZK Sync. Before Metro Labs, I've been working on as consulting information technology specialist and as embedded software engineer. I've been in blockchain since 2017, 2018. I've been working on mostly like everything, crypto libraries, crypto wallets, mobile applications, mobile blockchain wallets, mobile blockchain applications, backend, front end, crypto stuff, smart contracts, and that's all.
That's it. Tyler.
Hey everyone, my name is Tyler. So co-founder of Fathom, also head of digital assets at Securrency, same as Anton, so I won't bore you with what we do there. Prior to that, started and then was the commercial head of digital assets at S&P Indices. Prior to that, spent a number of years in the ETF world and traditional asset management business, and got my start in digital assets, testing some of the major DLTs and integrated DEX features back in 2012. So, been a long run.
Very nice. And Manuel?
Yes, hi everybody. So my run has been a little bit longer even, but I've been with Securrency for 4.5 years. I work there as the head of DeFi. We can go maybe a bit later. We can go into the relationship between Securrency and Fathom. I'm the co-founder of Fathom. I've been working in blockchain since 2016 professionally, and before that I was with index company as well, MSCI, and before that with one of the early fintechs, one of the early SaaS companies, Riskmetrics Group, where I was a risk specialist, investment risk specialist, and headed the EMEA region, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Before that, I had short stints at investment banks, JP Morgan, or Chase Manhattan Bank, as it was called at the time, in London, and Deutsche Bank.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for joining. So for the format, I was thinking we try to keep it conversational, and I can just kind of throw out topics. We can talk about them and take as much or as little time as we want to on them. So what are some of the problems with existing DeFi offerings in blockchain, across all networks? And how does Fathom address them?
I think a lot of DeFi is built for other people in DeFi. right? So it is really aimed at DeFi day trading degens and whales, of course, but it's not really focused on really helping any people in the real world with finance or investment solutions, right? And so how can we change this? This will involve having an open mind when it comes to working with institutions. And we see that already, of course, not only with Fathom, but also with other protocols where banks are onboarding assets into DeFi protocols like MakerDAO, and Aave has an institutional solution. So we're very much proponents of this as well. So integrating real world assets into DeFi so that we can both address a target market that is much larger than the current DeFi target market, and really bring solutions to people that are really life-changing for a lot of people, right? Not just for day traders. So that's, I think, one issue that we want to address with Fathom. Tyler, maybe you want to go next?
Yeah, I think that's a good lead in. I think part of that, making this more, not only user friendly, but opening it up to more traditional financial products. In our roadmap, real world assets is something that we want to bring to the platform. Not just because those are assets that people are used to seeing, but they're traditionally less volatile than just a platform that's collateralized by straight crypto. So we do plan to roll those in, and the idea is to create a more stable ecosystem, and then basically put financial products and tools in people's hands that maybe traditionally haven't had them. If they only have access to a phone, they can still do these types of things, whereas they might not have access to, say, like a traditional banking platform.
I would also add that I think the first installment of Fathom is really had a very direct and narrow use case, which was really to provide utility for XDC, right? Ability to do something with your XDC, lock your XDC up, create a stable coin, maybe use that stable coin to buy more XDC, or use it in all kinds of different use cases. So that was, of course, the initial use case, and that's what we're addressing with this first version that's coming out now. But then down the road, we want to extend Fathom and really also build fixed income solutions. I think a big issue with current DeFi is that the yields themselves are very volatile, right? So one day you see a 1,000% APY, and then a week later it's down to 80%, and then a week later it's down to 4%, and then so this is not very useful for people to build products on, financial products for people. So I'm a big believer in when it comes to building fixed interest or fixed income products in DeFi. I think that has been missing, and that is something that is of course we are of course able to do that now natively because of the proof of stake mechanisms that blockchains like XDC network have, which is really an intrinsic technology-enabled type of fixed income with which we can do many things, right? We can build very useful products, and so I think that's a very important thing that we will be bringing to this audience with later installments of Fathom. And then the other issue with DeFi is, of course, there's a lack of on and off ramps. We don't have an immediate solution to that right now, but that's also something that we would like to address. I think these are like three major kind of issues with DeFi that we're trying to address.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. A lot of people in this space kind of have unrealistic expectations on yield. They don't typically tend to care where the yield comes from, or that it's going to persist. And I think that's a systemic problem with just this industry as a whole, kind of because it's so young, because people are here for interesting reasons that may not be sustainable. And so it's really nice to hear you identifying those issues and talking about solutions to them. I agree with you on the on-ramp. Access to these tools is limited, just because you have to know how to turn your traditional value into crypto to even be able to come play here. Then you pair that with the news, right? 2022 was a tough year for crypto. A lot of projects failed for different reasons. There are hacks, there are people making bad decisions because the decision makers are centralized, and people are just here for the wrong reasons. And the whole industry suffers for it. I'm curious, so I know that Fathom is kind of equally focused on retail and on industry players. Have you guys seen people on the industry side reacting negatively to all those things? The hacks, like FTX, people making these bad decisions that end up having cascading effects that impact the entire market. Does that make industry a little less interested in coming and playing in this space, or do they see the value of the technology and they're willing to work through the turbulent stage that we're in to kind of get to the stability on the other side?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Certainly out of the gate, some of the first platforms in the DeFi space, I think, betrayed retail users in particular's trust in many ways, leaning on unreliable yield and just poor business practices. We've all been in the blockchain industry for a number of years, so we've been through a couple ups and downs, already. I would say that during this one, I saw much less, negativity towards the future of blockchain. Anyone who's, educated enough on the space, and I'm speaking specifically about institutions here, weren't really fazed by this. They realized that, FTX and these other, issues were really a centralization problem, decades, centuries old financial type crimes that really had nothing to do with crypto at the end of the day. So, what we've seen from the institutional side is really, honestly, like, efforts have ramped up in the past 6 months. So it's really just this golden opportunity to buckle down and keep building. I know that phrase gets put out a lot, but it really is like that, and it's most certainly like that on the institutional side right now.
Yeah, and because we were like two heads, we are founders of Fathom, but we also work at Currency. We have quite a unique viewpoint of what the institutions are up to, and like Tyler says, with all the recent happenings, nobody's really surprised by anything. Kraken offering a type of asset management service to its clients as a CeFi player. Okay, yeah, it's not really surprising that there's then issues with the SEC. So I think institutions, aren't really surprised by that. We are, talking to so many institutions on the buy side as well as on the sell side. Everybody is doing stuff now. Everybody, right? Be it as custodians, be it as looking to improve their FX swap market operations, being it as issuers, asset managers that issue digitally native assets, like we've done with WisdomTree Asset Management, where we issued a US Treasury digital token. And Currency is not the only company doing this, of course, but everybody we're talking to is still very interested in on this. And of course, there's a lot of pushback with people who aren't really in the space. Then it's very easy to say, "Oh, well, it's all a scam and all that." But for those that are in the space or that have the intellectual curiosity to dig a little bit deeper into the issues, it's I think it's exciting times. It's a good time to be building, like Tyler says, and we are very much encouraged when it comes to investors. I think the big difference with 2018 is that the VCs this time didn't go away. So there's still a lot of interest from VCs, but also from strategic partners to get into digital assets. And so yeah, we're quite encouraged, and to some extent, although the pendulum might swing a bit too far, but to some extent this purge works only in our favor, and I think works in the favor of networks like XDC, hybrid networks that have always had this institutional focus.
Yep. Kind of carrying on the theme of building now, I want to start to talk a little bit more about specifically what you guys are building. So the Fathom Protocol has a lot of pieces to it. It's really interesting. Maybe Anton, could you give us kind of a high-level picture of what XDC holders can expect when they come to Fathom.fi?
Yeah, of course. We will have really a lot of pieces. We have, of course, the centerpiece is our Fathom DAO, because we need a way how to operate the protocol, and it will be a decentralized model. We'll have Fathom token. It will be the governance instrument. It will be the governance token. We'll have Fathom staking, which will allow you to stake your Fathom token. In return, you will get Fathom yield of the Fathom token, and also you will get the voting power to participate in Fathom governance to apply changes to the protocol. This is very important, the governance, and I will tell you later why it's not only about changes in protocol, it's also about real-world assets tokenization. We have FXD, the stable asset. We have the liquid staking model. We made it in partnership with Anchor. We have Fathom DEX, where you can trade those assets. And we will have in the nearest future digital asset composer and compliance-aware token framework. We'll use them to tokenize real-world assets which may be used in Fathom Protocol, as, for example, collaterals for FXD stablecoin.
All right, so a lot there. I guess as a starting point, so as somebody in the community that holds XDC, they can go to Fathom.fi, and how do they actually get access to FXD, the stablecoin?
Well, we have the first and the only one collateral for now, XDC coin. So what you can do is to come to Fathom.fi, provide your XDC. Those XDCs will be staked in the liquid staking protocol, and you will get the borrowing power. You are not forced to borrow FXD. It's your choice. You may stay without FXD, but you will have voting power based on your collateral, and you can borrow some portion of FXD. That's all.
All right. So staking.
Also,
XDC.
we will have the Also, we will have the stable swap model, that will act as a pagans mechanism for stablecoin. So if you have the stable asset, which will be used in pair with FXD, you can also provide your stable asset to buy just in one-to-one rate the FXD stablecoin, paying just small portion of fee.
Okay, all right. So FXD at the start will be collateralized with XDC. Looking forward, we'll be able to collateralize with real-world assets that have been tokenized. And it sounds like for that to happen, we need access to Digital Asset Composer and the compliance framework that you mentioned before we can bring those on.
So maybe to add that, so real-world assets don't have to come in through tokenized through a Digital Asset Composer. Securrency does a lot of tokenization, but we're not exclusive to Securrency. So any tokenization platform can be used to bring real-world assets into the CDP vaults, and this will be decided upon by the community who can vote on asset onboarding. So there's nowhere, it is a decentralized platform. Yes, Digital Asset Composer is a separate kind of tool together with Coral X, which is a smart contract deployment platform, which we have deployed on XDC, but there's no need to use these tools to bring assets onto Fathom. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, no, that's good clarification. It wasn't clear to me. So I understand there's a DAO and that decisions can be made on what can be used as collateral for FXD. I guess just kind of big picture. So say that I or somebody owns commercial real estate and they're able to tokenize that real estate. do they then go to the DAO and make a proposal saying, I've got this asset, it's been tokenized, I'd like to bring it on to the Fathom platform and use it as collateral for FXD? And is there, I mean, how does the DAO know whether or not that asset has been properly tokenized, that it's secure? I'm just curious how the process works. Or is that too forward-looking?
It's not very forward-looking. First of all, they need to create an understandable, well-determined proposal so community can like read it and understand fully what is this asset, and like if the community, if Fathom community really wants it to be collateral for the stablecoin. Next will be the voting, and based on what community will decide, community may decide that tokenization, as Manuel told you, like to be performed in a various way. For example, we will have an automation possibility. Means if proposal will be accepted by the governance, so it will be voted for. When it will be the time for proposal to be executed, it is possible to attach to the proposal details of what smart contract you want to call and what will be the payload. So basically, you can call our automation smart contract, which will tokenize your asset and onboard your asset to the stablecoin as collateral. So it means this part also may be automated, may be written proposal, and community may agree on it. It's like our, let's say, not far future plan. We need to make it, but it's achievable. We have most of the parts for it already ready, tested. We just need to make everything work together.
Gotcha. And I'm curious, will, say, the average XTC community retail investor be able to come with assets to stake, or is this kind of limited to industry players to start?
I think it's envisioned to be both, but I wouldn't exclude retail. The thing I wanted to add in terms of assets, I know you used real estate as an example, which is fair, right? Real estate gets tokenized quite frequently. We do have, I think that's probably one of the further off collateral items, just given volatility and it's hard to price. Our rough plan is to start with cash-like alternatives, so like tokenized gold, trade finance assets, treasuries like products. That's in like the near-term roadmap.
Well, that makes perfect sense for the XDC network between trade finance and Comtech Gold. We have players here that suit that need.
Generally speaking, the more liquid, the better for us. And the more digitally native it is, also the better, of course. So we'll start with those low-hanging fruits before we move into the less liquid side.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we would definitely, when it comes to commercial real estate, for instance, I think tokenizing like an entire portfolio which has a lot of commercial cash flow streams makes sense, but I don't think we would go the way of like some like Centrifuge has done, like tokenizing like single homes, right? And how do you even tokenize the deed of one single house? That just doesn't work, and that's why we think institutional partners will be very useful here.
Yep, that makes sense. All right, we've had people join us since we started. So just so everybody's aware, in the platform in the upper right-hand corner, there's a room chat. And in that room chat, you can post questions. We're gonna, probably in 10 minutes or so, set some time aside for people to come and ask those questions. So if questions come up as we go, please put them there, and we will shift to a Q&A session from the audience towards the end. All right, so we've talked about FXD, a stablecoin that you can collateralize with XDC. I know that we're talking about over collateralization, so backing it with XDC. XDC is a highly volatile asset. What does the over collateralization look like so that we're able to secure the value of the stablecoin?
So initially, we have set it at 133% over collateralization, which is equivalent to 75% loan to value, and that is the threshold for liquidation. So we would of course encourage people to borrow, not right on that threshold to avoid any partial liquidations. But that's the initial. That's the initial ratio that we've set it at, and that can be changed in future by the community.
Potentially even asset by asset, right? So it could be judged based on the inherent riskiness or volatility of the underlying collateral. So real estate, higher.
Yep.
Gold less.
Yep, that makes sense. All right, and so once you've staked your asset, whatever it is, you can elect to borrow FXD if you want to. You don't have to. Let me see. How do you get access to yield through the staking? What token do you get in return? Do you get XDC back? Do you get FXD? Do you get Fathom token?
You will get certificate token.
Okay.
It's named AXDCC. This is token of the liquid staking. Means it earns you yield. The ratio between like XDC and AXDCC changes daily, and it depends on the rewards for the validator. It also depends on liquid staking pool, and so once you will want to unstake your XDC, means you will give your AXDCC and you want to get XDC back. You will get more XDC, because in this ratio will determine how much XDC you will get in return, and you will get more because of the mechanism of the liquid staking. So generally, you are providing XDC, and you are making a CDP, collateral debt position. You may keep it without debt, and you may close it just after some time. When you will close it, if you have the debt, you need to repay this debt, of course. But when you close it, in return, you will get AXDCC. For now, it's only like that. We may change it a bit in future to make it a bit more convenient. And once you have your XDCC, you can go and unstake, or you can go to, for example, Fathom DEX and swap your XDCC to XDC when we will have this pool available. That's like basic mechanics.
Okay. And so if I were to take my XDCC to the DEX and swap it, what incentivizes the person on the other side of that swap to want the XDCC? What value do they get from holding it?
They are getting XDC yield. So when they will receive XDCC, they're receiving the liquid staking token certificate, and so they're getting yield. Okay.
All right. And kind of shifting over to the governance side, how do participants get access to the FTHM token? Because that's a governance token, right?
Yeah, it's completely governance token, and we will have the pool on Fathom DEX. So you will be able to buy at the beginning FTHM token using your FXD token, but in future I think we'll have more pools on DEX. You can simply buy it from the market.
Okay, all right. And then having access to that token allows you to participate in the governance and say, be able to vote on what types of real world assets can come and back FXD.
Yeah. So you can take your Fathom token, place to the staking, receive yield, and receive voting power.
Okay.
Means you will get the FTHM token, which represents your voting power. And you can use this token in the governance system.
All right, that makes sense. One of the very first things we discussed, I just want to follow up on because it's interesting. Manuel, you mentioned that one of the hurdles right now, kind of for just DeFi in general, is accessibility, particularly with on-ramps. Like, how do people move their currency? And I know that right now it's not part of of Fathom Protocol, but you mentioned maybe in the future. I'm just curious what the panel's thoughts are on how do we make these tools more accessible to the general public, so that we can kind of democratize access to this brand new world of finance, give people access to all these tools so that they can better manage their value.
Yeah, I think we are not there yet where we can have an option on the website where we say buy your XDC or your FXD with your credit card. But what I like is, and this is more a wider XDC question, of course, what I like is, providers like TUSD, for instance, one of the top 5 stablecoins, I suppose. The way that you can easily set up a bank transfer to their bank all by browser, and then just print your TUSD, and that of course can then be straight deposited into a pool on XDC. So I think that's more the idea. We are looking at providing as much choice as possible. So we're again not exclusive to anyone. So we know that US Plus is doing good things on XDC, but we would definitely also be very interested.
Cool. Oh, I think we lost Manuel.
No worries. I'll jump in because I wanted to mention one other thing actually. So in terms of on-ramps too, we're also integrated with Fireblocks.
Okay.
Any Fireblocks user, whether it's retail or institutional, has access to Fathom DeFi services directly through that platform. So we think that's going to be a huge on-ramp. Custodianship, especially done by like the big players, the institutional players like that, has been one of the biggest on-ramps for tokenization in general. So definitely looking to leverage that as well, and hopefully that can pick up XDC adoption as well.
Fantastic. All right, so kind of closing out this part of the panel, I'm curious kind of what the timeline looks like. Short term, when do we expect you to go live? Long term, what does Fathom Protocol look like moving forward? Just kind of what's next, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I can jump in and tell just about our closest milestones. We're gonna have the official testnet launch on Fathom. We already deployed contracts and we are just testing them. So we will share with the community the links early next week. Well, within next week.
Mm-hmm.
We will have mainnet launch in March without a strict date because it depends on the audits. We are very, let's say, passionate about security and correctness of the code, so it takes a lot of time. We started audits in December, so we are still running the process, but the code will be in the best shape possible. So it's March, but the date is open.
Mm-hmm.
About nearest milestones for us, I think it's of course more yield sources for XDC. Right now we'll have liquid staking, but we will have more. There may be farms accessible from Fathom DEX. We'll have release of Digital Asset Composer. I can speak about it a lot. It's a very huge and very interesting framework, but I think we have a shortage of time. We'll also release compliance-aware tokenization framework, and our plans are to onboard real-world assets into the protocol, but that's more distant future, of course. Mm-hmm. Maybe Manuel Tyler wants to add something more.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the focus right now is to offer more types of collateral besides XDC, which will include real-world assets at some point. And then secondly, also to extend Fathom Protocol with other flywheels, right? So for instance, a yield farming protocol, like Anton mentioned, but also a lending marketplace, like in the shape of an Aave, for instance, and perhaps in a separate fixed income protocol, an insurance protocol. So all these flywheels, just to build out that ecosystem. It doesn't have to come from us, right? But we really see that Fathom will be at the center of this because it's just, this is where you first go with your XDC, and then you print your stablecoin, and with that you can then enter all these other flywheels, hopefully. So I guess that's really building out the ecosystem and letting others build on top of it. Think of Yearn, for instance. Convex is built on top of Yearn, and we'd be really happy if other teams would jump on this opportunity to work with us, and really build out that ecosystem, because key, of course, is liquidity, and the more DeFi participants and DeFi solutions and pools we have on XDC, the better. And yes, we can go cross chain, but that always involves a lot of risk. We might have a solution in place this year with Ripple, and in which you would be able to use, for instance, Ripple as collateral, because these guys are also looking for more utility for XRP. But we'd really like to focus on the XDC network for now. So really build out organically on XDC before going cross chain and putting users' assets at risk and potentially in bridges and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On the bridge note too, Manuel, so like the Fireblocks integration sort of solves this bridging in sort of a back way. It's not technical bridging, but you're getting essentially the same end result. So specifically went after it that way. Anyone listening to Manuel, you spoke about flywheel businesses coming from other participants. I'd encourage anyone who's got that on their mind to go check out Digital Asset Composer, because with that rolling out on XDC, the idea is that it can be used. It's a no-code or low-code tool, and you can rapidly roll out like a Yearn or a Convex-like product, even roll it out based on live market conditions. So there's a lot of things that we can do with that. We are really happy to bring that to the XDC network, and we're hoping it's sort of just before it leads to this type of explosion of DeFi products and services on the network.
So how would people go and check out Digital Asset Composer? Is it already live on XDC network?
We are testing it on XDC network, but I think the actual release will be somewhere in summer.
Okay. So people in the audience, we're going to go and do some questions. If you have a question, you haven't asked it yet, just go ahead and throw it up in the chat, or you can raise your hand. I have one question here. How can we convert real world assets as collateral? Even if we do, how do we liquidate the real world asset? How will the token issued be legally enforceable?
Well, I think it's more a question not about how it can be done technologically, because we will have like compliance-aware tokenization framework. What is it? Well, CATF, we have standard for tokenization. It's an extension of ERC20 with additional functionality like freeze, pause, clawback, and other functions. All of these functions will also be composable via Composer, so you will be able to choose what your token functionality should look like. But also CATF includes a sophisticated permission system. We have already two versions. First one is for institutions, second one for public, and on XDC we'll use the public one. But maybe, just maybe we'll use also institutional ones, because XDC network is fast and cheap. Institutional is working with security permission system, which consists of Compliance Oracle and Rules Engine. The Compliance Oracle is a framework where you can set and request attestations on chain. Rules Engine is responsible for storing permissions and handlers for actions on the smart contracts. So, for example, you can, if you have the token, you have transfer action on this token, you can assign like very sophisticated permissions to it. Let's say transaction sender must pass KYC, live in the US, have age of 18 plus and something more. Also, you can restrict recipient of the transaction value, and a lot of other things. It's for institutional version. For the public, we can use a role system that comes with Composer. It's not so flexible institutional one, but it also will allow to protect your smart contracts. So this is how technology will make those tokens, but it's not a question only about technological aspect.
Yeah, exactly. So questions around legality and enforceability, we really lay that, of course, at the feet of the financial institution that provides the tokenization service, perhaps using a service like currency. When Anton talks about us and CADF, he means currency. We do help institutions do that. But that's really a question that for the Wisdom Tree Asset Management, for instance, that got the approval from the SEC. They went through that process with the regulator. They got a sign off. Yes, you can tokenize these bonds and put it in tokenized format on a blockchain. You also have to specify which blockchains, by the way, in the SEC application. And with that regulatory sign-off, that addresses then all the questions of legality and enforceability. So that's not really with Fathom as the protocol itself, right? So that's really when the DAO comes in and where disclosures come in and where investor protection comes in by only dealing with providers that are providing good quality collateral that is reasonably liquid onto the protocol, right? And the fact that it is a bank, that it is a regulated institution, doesn't mean it's good quality collateral, right? So we have seen that with MakerDAO, and I think some very problematic proposals there. So we will also be very wary of any financial institution trying to dump their toxic waste portfolio of bad loans onto a protocol like ours. So this is really where we as guardians of the protocol will be having a very serious look. But this is also where users of the protocol are always, of course, encouraged to do their own research and make up their own mind on quality of the collateral, right? But ultimately, questions of legality and enforceability, that's with the tokenizing institution.
All right. Let's see. Another question for you. How do you envision attracting users or investors to the platform?
Yeah, I think, I'm sure these guys can add on too, but really it's about building out products and services on XDC. One of the things that attracted us, in addition to being a hybrid blockchain, is that they were laser focused on institutional use cases, which, was tailor-made for what we wanted to do. I think what was missing is products and services that you saw proliferate and really drive adoption of other chains. Manuel, you spoke a little bit about the flywheels. When we first started, sort of concepting Fathom, it was really talking about the flywheels. And then we took a couple steps back and we realized we needed to really build sort of the cornerstone to allow for that growth. So I think it happens pretty organically once there's utility and use case driving adoption. So we're really trying to set the cornerstone now to build that and attract new users.
Okay, yeah, and a follow-up question, which may have been answered with the flywheel. Do you have a use case vision for enterprise applications that will entice businesses to consider utilizing blockchain solutions? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's quite broad, right? We've discussed a lot of different sort of additional businesses that could feed into Fathom. Anything from decentralized direct indexing, which is really like a decentralized model portfolio tool. We've talked about adding capabilities where you could use Composer to make essentially tokens of tokens, where you could embed a real world asset with a fixed income, DeFi fixed income yield. So you'd essentially get this next generation structured product. And the list goes on, and these are sort of all in the extended roadmap. But Manuel, Anton, if you have anything to add, feel free.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it will revolve around the stable asset. What can we do with that, right? So can we use the FXD in certain payment rails? I think especially for any online transactions, for metaverse transactions, I think that would be very useful there. We're also looking to abstract away everything DeFi and everything blockchain for corporate treasuries, maybe get a credit score on certain of our pools and offer the yield of those pools as a fixed yield, as we mentioned before, to corporate treasuries for their cash management needs. So yeah, once it's up and running and we have enough liquidity, there's all types of let's call it real world financial functions that we can provide for enterprise, particularly, I would say, treasuries looking for fixed yield.
All right, I think that just about wraps it up. So, thank you all for your time. Anybody want to say anything else to the audience before we stop, or is everybody good? Any closing remarks?
Well, I want to thank you, John, for setting this up, and I think the support we're getting from the XDC community has been great so far, and not least by you, John, and you, Jonathan, and so that's super appreciated. We feel that there is a lot of goodwill in the community. Everybody's is happy to work with us, and we are very happy to work with others. And as we stated before, we love people to build on top of our protocols. All the code is obviously open source. Digital Asset Composer is completely open source as well. So whatever questions you have or comments, we are completely doxed. We are on LinkedIn. We are on doing these kind of events. So we're accessible. We're open. We have been in the blockchain space for quite a while. We are working very closely with institutions as well. So any use case that you're thinking of, come and discuss it with us. We have some relevant experience in this space. And we are, probably as passionate as you are about XDC network and the potential of it. And I'm really serious about that. It also means that I think, although I guess I have to be careful what I say, it's not investment advice, but I think, XDC has a long way to go. I think it's has been underhyped. Which also makes it, I think, a great collateral for a protocol like Fathom, because we believe in its potential, and so I think for us it seems to be the perfect technological solution, the perfect solution from a price point of view, but also very importantly, a very welcoming network of builders and finance professionals and institutions. I have to admit that Tyler has been an early member of the community, and he was the one who brought me to XDC. But he can talk more about that. But I've been really pleasantly surprised working with dozens of people in the XDC network.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was as early as you could participate and hold XDC, I did. And actually, the person who, onboarded me was, I guess, Andre Casterman. I'd already been doing some research around XDC. They were billing themselves at the time as a hybrid blockchain, which really, in today's terms means that there's private subnet capabilities. Not all blockchains have that. And quite honestly, I'm fairly certain XDC was the first time I saw it. So chatted with Andre to make sure I understood that correctly at the time, because it was a new concept, and was really bought in from that point on. And then I have to say, just from the institutional work we do too, private subnets that can connect to public ledgers is probably the most in-demand type of product by institutions. It essentially allows them to run live sandboxes, but then connect that to markets, public markets at any time, and it provides the anonymity that's frankly required in a regulatory sense. So that's just kicking off, and I think XDC is probably in one of the primed positions to take advantage of it.
It's great to bring what you're building to the XC community for all the reasons that you mentioned. And I look forward to supporting as necessary as everything goes live and watching this grow over time. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know you're busy, so I won't keep you any longer. And until next time.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.